Hello everybody, welcome back to Book Bar and welcome to another video. Today I'm going to be talking about the 20 books that I read from the 1st to the 15th of April. So yeah, I've read 20 books and since then I have not finished one. But we're still only the 17th, so it's not like I'm like dying or anything. But yeah, I finished 20 books and now I'm going to talk about them. Just because that way my end of the month wrap up is not 7 million years long. If this is your first time here listening to a wrap up, the way I do it is I discuss them in the order that I completed the books, so not necessarily the order that I finished them. So if you see me looking down, flipping through pages, I'm flipping through my handy dandy bullet journal, which I'm reading journal, which I'm gonna need a new one soon. And because I write them down in order of how I start them, but how I complete them is how I talk about them. So the first book that I finished in the month was Hefty by Jessica Cain. This was a little fun best friend's brother novella, and it was absolute perfection. I loved this so much. It was so cute. It's one of Jessica Cain's big boy heroes, and he's a football player, and she's this little tiny cheerleader, and she's like always been in love with him, and he doesn't think that she could ever love him because he's bigger, and she's everyone's dream girl at school. So, but it was so cute and so fun, and I just absolutely loved it. And I can't say much more about it because, like I said, it's a little novella. It's only like 60 pages. So, yeah. Then I read The Joker by Sophie Lark, which is a Patreon exclusive short story by Sophie Lark. Oh, I gave Hefty 5 stars. It's a Patreon exclusive short story. If you're part of Sophie's Patreon, she's doing short stories for characters in her Mafia worlds, or even Cole and Mara, maybe. She might do some for them, but she's just doing little short stories that people want to see, but she doesn't want to keep writing full-length novels in these worlds because she doesn't want the world to get so big. So the first one was a very requested one. It was Ozzy and Shay. If you've read Kingmakers, you know these characters, and you know how their story ends. So it was super cute, super fun. It was just a little short story, and I gave 5 stars. So yeah, if you want to read that, join Sophie's Patreon. Then I read 4 Aunties and a Wedding, which was one of my most anticipated releases, and I absolutely loved this book. This is the sequel to Dial A for Aunties, so I can't really say much because a lot of what happens in this has directly to do with what happened in the first one. But Medi is getting married in this one. Not going to say to who, but yeah, it was super fun, super cute, absolutely adored it. 5 stars. Honestly, funnier than the first one. This is a book that if you're going into it wanting like the best of a genre, it's not going to be. It's not that great of a mystery. It's definitely not a thriller. The romance, has a romantic subplot, but it's not a romance. But it's not really just like a general fiction book either. But it's laugh out loud funny, and as long as you can suspend your disbelief as to what these crazy scenarios, you're gonna find joy in it, and it's just a great time. I absolutely love this series. I have a hold on it again through the library, so my mom can read it because she absolutely loved it, and so we'll see when she can get that. But she loved the first one and is like super excited to listen to the second one, or to get to the second one too. So, but yeah, 5 stars, fantastic. Probably will be a favorite of the month, or at least like a top. Like a contender. It won't necessarily probably be a favorite because it's not a romance. But then I read Real by Kennedy Ryan. I'm not going to say a ton about this one because I will be having a vlog coming out about this in the future, a secret vlog. But I did really love this. It's a Neva and Cannon workplace romance. He's a director, she's an actress that he finds on Broadway, and the rep in this is fantastic. The disability rep, the emotional rep, like everything is just beautiful. This story is just absolutely beautiful. Kennedy Ryan writes a fantastic book. And yeah, again, 5 stars. Started off the month with a bunch of bangers. Then we got into the Mafia Romance Readathon. I have a vlog for that where I talk more in depth about these books. If you want my full thoughts on those, go ahead and check that out. I'll link it above. But the first book that I read from Mafia Romance Readathon, which is hosted by Jen from the Book Refuge, Madison from Princess of Paperbacks, Jess from Peace Love Books, Tori from Novel Life, Tiff from Tiff Talks Pages, and I believe Justin from Justin Reads Romance. I don't think I'm forgetting anyone. If I am, all their channels will be linked down below. But I absolutely love the Mafia Romance Readathon. It was so much fun. But I read Ruthless Creatures by J.T. Geisinger, and this book was fantastic. I gave it 4.5 stars. There was just like a few things about Natalie that I didn't love, and so I didn't give it a full 5. But 4.5 is still fantastic. I loved it. Had a great time. It's Cage and Natalie. 5 years ago, Natalie's fiance disappeared the night before their wedding. Now she has this stranger moving in next door, and all sorts of craziness ensues. But yeah, I loved it. 4.5 stars, and of course I had to continue on the series, but we'll get to that later. Then I read Mafia Mistress by Mila Finelli. This is an age gap fiance's dad. Don't worry, there is no cheating in this book. You have to read it to understand, but this book was like a mess in the best way. I really enjoyed it. I gave it 4.5 stars, and it ends on such a cliffhanger that I had to immediately go into the second one, which is Mafia Darling. And the two characters in this are Fausto and Francesca, and there is a trope in this that a lot of people aren't going to like. I'm not going to say what it is. You can look it up, but I don't want to give any triggers or any spoilers away. But yeah, the second book was fantastic. What the hero needed to do happened fully, and I enjoyed it so much, and I give that one 5 stars. Mafia Mistress, if I didn't say it, 4.5. So 4.5. Then I read Anton by Sophie Lark. This is, I skipped a book, but that's okay, we'll go back to that one. This was one of her Underworld series. This is book number 5. So in her Underworld series, they used to be called The Colors of Crime, and then she branded them and changed the reading order. And so the first 4 books in the series were the second 4 that she wrote. So books 1 through 4 were written last, and books 4 through 8 were written first. And you can definitely tell that her writing has improved over time. I still really enjoyed the story. It was fun. You can see the changes that she's made over the years, and I mean, it was dual POV, but it was mostly told from Violet's perspective, whereas 99% of the time in Sophie's books, you're getting one chapter from heroine's perspective, one chapter from the heroes. In this one, you get in Anton, it was you'd get 5 chapters from the heroine, and then a chapter from the hero, and then 5 chapters from the heroine, and a chapter from the hero. So you definitely see how she's evolved in her writing. It was fun. Violet is a musician working in London, and one day she was at a club, a Bratva-owned club, and this table of men come in, and they take a liking to her, and she gets taken away and captive, but she's not really, it's not captive, because her captor is her father. So if you've read any of her other books, you know this is not a spoiler or anything. But yeah, it was a good time. I gave it 3.5 stars. Not the best Sophie Lark I've ever read, but I did forget to mention that I did reread Brittle Prince by Sophie Lark, which is one of my favorite books of all time. I read this one last year. This was part of my reread. As you can see, I had a fantastic time with this. The first time I read this book, I gave it 4.5 stars. This time I gave it 5, because my biggest complaint was that I needed more Callum and Ada. There's so much that happens in this book, and this truly is enemies to lovers. They try to kill each other. It's enemies to we respect to, we're both real hot for each other, to, I can respect this person and their ideas, to lovers. It goes through all of the things, but they're the part where they're actually in love and happy is so small, and as a romance reader, I don't love that. But my biggest complaint the first time I read it was that I needed more of them happy and in love. And obviously after reading all 6 books in the Brutal Birthright series, you see them as a couple grow through those books even. You get little snippets of their relationship. And then of course in Kingmakers, because book 2 is their son, like, you see 20 years down the road, their love's still, like, happy and fantastic. So I ended up bumping this up to 5 stars. It was only 4 the first time, 4.5 the first time, 5 the second time. Just beautiful, utter perfection. Love this book. If you have not read it, go read it. Run, don't walk. Brittle Prince. Your Sophie-like journey will begin, and it is a wonderful one. So after, which I actually read that, I had read it in between Ruthless Creatures and Mafia Mistress, but that's fine. I missed it on my paper. Then, so after the Mafia Romance Readathon started the Historical Romance Readathon, which again I have a vlog for and I will link up here. But the first book that I read for that was The Lion's Lady, which was the group book. It's by Julie Garwood. This book was super fun. Christina is called a princess. Turns out she's not, but she is like a lost heiress. She was raised by Native Americans. The whole first chapter is like her, or the prologue is the Native Americans accepting her when she's a child. And she ends up going back to London, and she finds the Marquiss of Lionwood, and he's instantly attracted to her and intrigued by her and wondering about her because nobody knows anything about her. And he asks her all these questions trying to learn about her, and she can never keep her story straight because she's hiding some stuff. And she always, like, he'll say something and she'll be like, and she'll say, like, he'll like try to catch her in a lie, and then he'll have to remind her, like, but you said, and it was super cute and fun. I really enjoyed it. I gave it 5 stars. It was my first Julie Garwood, and it definitely will not be my last. Then I read The Making of a Highlander by Elisa Braden. This was my first Elisa Braden book. I tried a lot of new authors in this historical romance readathon. This was a Jen recommendation. She read all of Elisa Braden's books last year. I don't know that this is necessarily her favorite, but she does love Elisa Braden. But so this is Annie Tulloch. She is considered Mad Annie. Her best friend's a ghost, and she has to marry a lord to save her friend. And her neighbor, I think he is, John Huxley. He is in a land dispute with her father, and her father says, I can't remember exactly, but basically if he wins the Highland Games, her father will give up his pursuit of this land. And so Annie says to Huxley, like, you make me a lady so that I can catch me a lord, and I will turn you into a Highlander. Well, of course, spending time together, things are going to happen. They're going to fall for each other, and other secrets are going to be revealed and everything. And yeah, it was a really cute, fun story. I will definitely be reading more of Elisa Braden's works, and I give that one 4.5 stars. Then I read the Rake Appreciation Society book, which the Rake Appreciation Society is Jen from the Book Refuge. I'm pretty sure I mentioned her in like every video, and Crystal from Crystal's Bookish Life. And there we're reading The Marquiss Makes His Move by Diana Quincy. This was a fun book. I really enjoyed it. Alex, the Marquis of Brandon, is like known as like a reclusive hero, reclusive Marquis because of his heritage. He is part Arab and Middle Eastern, and so he doesn't go out in public, and nobody really knows much about him. Well, it turns out that this he infiltrates this map maker's home, because this map maker drew the lines to his land, and he ended up losing like a very vital piece of his land. And so he goes into the home of, I can't remember his name, but R. Fleming. He goes into his home, like infiltrates his home to become a footman. So it seems like it's going to be a class difference, but it ends up being a class difference in the opposite way. But so he ends up falling for Rose, who is Fleming's wife. And Rose and Brandon have this push and pull, like instant attraction, and then some stuff comes out about Rose's marriage and everything. And I thought it was a really good book. There's just something missing. I wish the part about our marriage lasted so long. There was just a little too much angst for me. But yeah, I still give it 4.5 stars. I enjoyed it. Had a great time. Then I read so then while the Historical Romance Readathon, which I forgot to mention who are the hosts for that is hosted by Jess from Peace Love Books, Lacey from Lacey Book Lovers, and Lisa from Remarkably Lisa. I will link them down below. So while that was going on, then the weekend happened, and it was 72 hours in Smut Den, which again, I have a vlog for. I will post up here. And that is hosted by Mel from Melanie Reads, Bobby from Bobby Reads, Rye from Rye's Reading Corner, and Cassidy from Covers with Cassidy. And so they had a light wheel and a dark wheel, and I spun both to begin with, just because I wanted to see which one. And I started with my light wheel pick, which was Burley by Jessica Kane. Oh, because I had age gap. And Burley is another one of Jessica Kane's big boy heroes. But this is a father's best friend. And this one didn't work for me. I thought it was kind of ick. Murph was just a little, the things he said to Angelica, I just couldn't get on board with it. I didn't love it. I gave it 3 stars. It was fine. It's a bodyguard romance, pop star, daddy kink, dad's best friend, age gap, big boy hero. But yeah, it was 3 stars. Not gonna say much more about it. Then I read It Takes Two to Tumble by Cat Sebastian. This is a male-male historical romance, and it was cute. It wasn't memorable in like any way. It was Ben Sedgwick and Philip DeCray. And Philip is a single father, which is part of why I read this one, because one of the prompts was single parent. He's a single father, and he comes back. He's a naval captain. He comes back on leave, and he meets the vicar Ben, and they have a cute little romance. But I mean, it was fine. Like, it wasn't anything special. The other Cat Sebastian books that I've read have been better than this one. I gave it 3.5 stars. It was still fun. It was spicy. Like, the sex scenes were fantastic. I really did enjoy it for that, but it's not a memorable story. So I am not going to, like, it's not something I'm going to remember much past this wrap up. Then I read Carnal Urges by J.T. Geisinger. This was for one of my Dark Wheel prompts. And this follows Daddy Declan and Sloane, his little lion. And, this book was just, I don't even have words for how fantastic this book was. It's Capture Captive, Mafia, Age Gap, all of my buzzwords, all of the things that I love in a book. Badass heroine, like, pulls no punches, heroine, hero who's like so enamored, like he's trying not to get caught in Sloane's web, but he just can't help it because she's just so alluring, and just perfection. 5 stars. If you didn't know, now you know. Then I read The Highland Fling by Megan Quinn. This was another light wheel pick, and this was a cute little, like, shocking how much I enjoyed this book. Grumpy Sunshine, Slow Burn, Dislike to Love, Rowan and Bonnie. Bonnie and her best friend Dakota decide to go work in Scotland for 6 months just because they both are in need of a change. They've both been through some terrible things. Dakota's going through a really bad breakup and trying to figure out who she is, and Bonnie has just been let go from her 3rd job and also going through a breakup and just doesn't know what she wants to do with her life. She's always kind of been average. They go to Scotland, into this little town where they have the Bobby Stone and a goat and all these just lovable characters, and they work in this coffee shop, and they decide to, like, expand the coffee shop and make it and find their true callings and their true passions. And Bonnie meets Rowan, who is the son of the coffee shop owners, and he is a grump and has been through some stuff and has a lot of trauma in his past that he's not willing to let go of yet. and it was really great. I cried, I laughed, I went through all the emotions, but Megan Quinn's books always have like one thing that just missed the mark for me. The third act conflict was too long. Like it happened too late in the book, and it lasted for too many chapters for me to fully love it. I give it 4.5 stars. Still had a great time. It was still a wonderful book. I suggest it if you're looking for something funny and fun, and if you want to cry a little bit. It's a great one. Then I read A Daring Pursuit by Kate Bateman. This is the second book in her series about the two rivaling families. And I read the first book back in February. I have a February wrap-up where I talk about it. I'll post it up here. This is the second book. I can't say much about this because it's an arc. I got an arc from NetGalley. But it's Tristan Montgomery and Karis Davies. And just know that I liked this one more than the first one. And I loved the first one. So, 5 stars. It was great. Comes out April 24th, I believe. So go pick it up when it comes out. It was great. Loved it. Then I read Heir of Fire for the SJM-Along. This is the third book in the Throne of Glass series. I can't say much more about it because, again, it's the third book. This one had a lot of great character development. And in true SJM fashion, the last 100 pages pack all the punch. So I get 4 stars because there was so much happening at the beginning that I was like, it was dragging for me. But I still had a great time. 4 stars. Can't say much about it, again, because it is the third in a series. Then I read Pageant by Lilith Vincent. This is a Mafia Reverse Harem book. Lilith Vincent wrote the Promised in Blood series, and I loved that series. First Comes Blood was like one of my favorite. It was in my top probably like 30 books of last year. It was really good. I really enjoyed it. And so I picked up this one. And it says in the beginning, if you liked Promised in Blood, this one is darker. And it 100% was. The light at the end of the tunnel, I still haven't seen it. And it was the end of the book. And so I will obviously pick up the second one because I gotta get this happily ever after that I'm after because I'm a romance reader. But there was, just so much darkness in this book. This is a Mafia Reverse Harem, of course. So the main female is, why can't I think of her name? I didn't even write it down. I have it somewhere. Lilia. And she is taken off the streets. And we learn a lot about her past and possibly one of the heroes. And it's wild. There are all sorts of triggers. There is all sorts of craziness that happens. I gave it 3.5 stars. We'll see if it redeems itself in the second book. I had a great time reading it, but it wasn't. I definitely don't like it as much as any of the books in the Promised in Blood series. So we'll see how the second one goes. And then the last book I read this month, or this half of the month, was The Assassin in the Desert by Sarah J. Maas. This is the third little novella in the Assassin's Blade. Selena going off, doing some crazy things in the desert. Again, it's a novella. I actually really did enjoy this one, and I gave it 4.5 stars. So it's probably my favorite of the 3 that I've read so far. This one was very action-packed, and a lot happened in it. And I think it is very important and vital to the story. So, yeah, those are the 20 books that I have read so far this month. I can't speak. I took place in 3 wonderful readathons. I absolutely love them, and I hope that more of them happen in the future. I know the Mafia Romance Readathon for sure will. Jen has already said. Probably next year. And the Historical Romance Readathon usually happens a couple times a year. And who knows about Smut Den? Because this was the first time that they're thinking about doing other genres and fun things. But yeah, I had a great time with all of them. Let me know down in the comments what you've read so far. What has been your favorite book so far this month? Mine is probably Carnal Urges, but I like just based off gut. But it could be Real. Real was also fantastic. And For Aunties and a Wedding was phenomenal. But yeah, I've read some great books. Keep an eye out for my end of month wrap up where I will talk about all of the other books that I read this month, and my stats and faves at the end of the month where I will talk about my 5 favorites and all of my fantastic stats. But let me know in the comments what your favorite book of the month so far has been. Did you participate in any of these readathons? Let me know. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, all that fun stuff. And I'll talk to you all in the next one. Bye.